Hello everyone and welcome to today's show with sportsbookreview.com. I'm your host Lee Martin, here to talk UFC Fight Night with my man David Manyun. We're going to break down the entire main card for Dustin Poirier versus Dan Hooker. Before we get into any UFC talk though, like always, go ahead, give us a like and subscribe to our channel. That way you never miss a show with us. Now let's get to it. How are you today, Dave?
Not too badly, just cracking on. Obviously, we had some bad news this week and we've lost a dear friend here at SBR. So I just want to shout out Rafa before we get into the breakdowns. Yeah. What a lovely person he was, and I'll make sure that nobody ever forgets his name.
You never forget that, man. He's such a great, caring, kind, smart person, so we'll never forget Rafa. Now, let's just get to it. So to start everything off, let's just do a little recap of the main event for Blaydes versus Volkov. Can you give me your thoughts on that?
Yeah, to be honest, it was pretty much what we predicted in our first look article and video breakdown. It was a case of the wrestler versus the striker. And it was funny because Curtis Blaydes came out on Twitter, I think it was a couple days, maybe 3 days before the fight took place, and he told everybody what he was going to do. He said, if you people are expecting me to come out and start swinging, you're very wrong. It's going to be, it's just going to be wrestling, and that's exactly what he did. He came out, he implemented the wrestling, and it was all his fight to lose from there, really. Towards the end of the fight, we did see our guy Volkov have a few moments. But nothing really to worry about. Dominant, unanimous decision, and as expected, Curtis Blaydes sailed home with the win.
Yep, I thought that was a great fight, honestly. Just because Volkov didn't really do much, and Blaydes just dominated it.
Yeah, it was exactly what we said. Exactly what we said.
Yeah. So now let's just move on to the prelims fight for Fight Night with Hooker and Poirier. Do you have a favorite fight or top pick in the prelim card?
Do you know what? It's becoming very weird, these cards now. Yeah. They're running out of fighters in America. They're taking last-minute replacements. They're bringing back fighters who have previously been dropped by the company. The lower cards, the preliminary fights, they're just, they're struggling right now. So it is tough. But at the top of the preliminary, we've got Luis Pena versus Karma Worthy, which I was interested in because I was on Karma Worthy in his UFC debut, and he cashed as a plus 600 underdog. Now, he's the 5th biggest underdog in UFC history. So the conscious thoughts of everybody right now is Karma Worthy is the dog that you want to back, and he's the dog that's going to win these fights against, we can't even say Luis Pena's lower level opposition, but he's not had that many professional fights. He's only had 9 pro fights. So he's in a very similar situation to where Worthy's opponent was in his UFC debut. I'm not sold on Karma this time. There's not a whole bunch of fight tape on it. And to give him credit where credit's due, Karma has only lost to UFC caliber opponents. I mean, a lot of his actual losses on his record, most of them by knockout. In fact, I think all of them by knockout have came against either fighters that have been in the UFC or are currently in the UFC. So I don't want to hold that against him too much, but the problem with Karma is he can give it, but he cannot take it. So he's fighting a guy in Luis Pena who has all the hype behind him right now. He's got the hype behind his fight style. His body type is huge for the light heavyweight division, coming in at 6'3". You'll see that his length does favor him a lot, especially on the ground. He's got a body triangle like a freaking garage clamp that for lower level ground specialists, they're just going to struggle. They really are. And as for his striking, that just continues to improve each fight. He's one of them flashy strikers. You'll see him with the slipping elbows, different mixture of kicks. He mixes his kicks up well, throws in some flying attacks there. And let's not forget his lethal knees. He's got some serious knees that he can bring up to head height, which can seriously do some damage. He's fighting out of American Top Team. He has got 2 losses on his record, and they were by split decision. They were super close fights. He was losing a striking battle to Steve Garcia. And to be honest, he would have lost that fight, I think, if the grappling didn't take over for Pena. What I learned from the Steve Garcia and the Matt Favola fight, actually, is that Luis Pena can take a punch. And that's what Khama Worthy is bringing to this table. That's how Khama Worthy cashed as the 5th biggest underdog in UFC history. He actually cashed as the 11th biggest underdog in martial arts history. So it was a real good hit if you were able to jump on Worthy at that plus 600. Now we're looking at Worthy at a plus 200. I don't think that's the price I want to take. If it was 300, 400, then yeah, I'd probably have another pop again, because you do have that puncher's chance. But as Luis Pena has proved time and time again since fighting in the UFC, is that he does have a chin, and his skills they're very well-rounded. It's hard to ignore how good Luis Pena is. Matt Favola versus Luis Pena. Favola found success because Pena loses a portion of his grappling advantage when he's fighting a wrestler, and that's what that fight was. But Pena, he still puts on a display. Submission attempts, awesome scrambling ability, and in all fairness, I probably would have given him the nod in that Matt Favola fight. I'm not going to lie. It was a tight split decision, and it's a question of who's judging on that day. Training at AKA, he's gone to American Top Team, AKA he's spent time in New Jersey as well. He's always switching gyms, and that says to me this is a young kid who's coming up and he wants to learn. He does want to learn, and he's constantly progressing. So I do like Luis Pena. I think Pena will need, with the small octagon, he's going to need to take the center and stop Khama from aggressing. He's going to have to close the distance on Khama for the takedown, which is more than likely going to be his plan. Because if he fails, he's going to be ducking them heavy hands at Khama, and I don't think he's going to want to do that for 15 minutes, because that's where he's most likely to lose the fight. In my opinion, the line is wrong. We should be getting more of that fun juice on Khama. He's not tested yet. He did beat a real good prospect in his debut, but the line was ridiculous. So minus 1,000 on Devontae Smith was not the way forward. It was also his training partner, so he knew what he was coming into in that fight. He doesn't know what he's getting into with Luis Pena. Luis Pena is a seriously skilled dude. I'm watching a lot of people, like I mentioned before, with that consciousness of Khama cashing, and I don't think it's going to play out for him this time. You can't even find tape on Khama Worthy's most recent win streak, which I think was in LFA, if I remember correctly. So you can only assume that he's fixed the issues by looking at the Devontae fight from his previous mistakes. But yeah, it's gonna have to be Luis Pena for me. It is juiced up, but I think Pena would be probably a nice parlay piece for sure.
Well, if you do want to get in on that via BetOnline, Luis Pena is minus 235 and Khama Worthy is plus 200. So there are those odds. Now let's just make our way over to the main card. We're gonna start off with heavyweight Gian Villante versus Maurice Greene. Via BetOnline, Greene is minus 240, Villante is plus 205. So can you give me your take on those odds in that fight?
Yeah, I mean, it's a dog or pass situation, in my opinion. I probably would put Maurice Greene as a favorite. Why? Just because of his size, and we haven't seen Gian Villante in the heavyweight division. So we got Gian here, 34 years old. He's a long runner in the MMA world all round. He's been around for a long time, since the Strikeforce days. So the experiences with Gian, he's fought a mixture of high-level opponents, but now we've got him moving up to heavyweight division. As I blab on about every week, with the new circumstances, the virus, pandemic, all that stuff, everything's changing. We're seeing weight classes, just get taken advantage of, because cutting weight is not really a priority through what's going on. But it's tough because we haven't saw Gian for over a year now. It's 4 of his previous 5 fights have gone to a split decision. So straight away, if you are putting money on this fight, you're heading into risky waters. When you've got a guy that has so many split decisions, like, that's not what you want when you're backing a fighter, a split decision, because it's just nerve-wracking. Now he's alternating losses. Win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. And now he's coming up against an active, fresh heavyweight in Greene. Now, don't get me wrong, Greene's he's not going to survive in the top of the heavyweight division in the UFC. But he's a big guy, and look, he can still punch. And Gian, we haven't seen him for a year. He's 34 years old. It's just rough to make a read on this. Now, Greene by name is what I say, Greene by skills as well, because his skills are very green, and you can't trust him at this price. You really can't. I don't care how bad Gian would look. He's still, in my opinion, if we put them both at their best, Gian's probably going to win. The problem is probably the size. There's going to be a 6-inch reach advantage that Gian's got to deal with. That I don't know, man. I just don't think it is a real rough fight to pick. The best I can take from Maurice Greene in terms of his striking offense was the powerful leg kicks that he had against Pavlovich. But the thing is, he's throwing these kicks and he's not setting them up at all, which led him to getting knocked out. I could see the same thing happening with Gian here. I really do. But I could see I could see Greene starching him in 60 seconds. It's a tough one. Gian, he starts with a real slow pace. In fact, he maintains a real slow pace throughout all of his fights. I'm not sure if that's going to fit in at a heavier weight. I think he might be able to. The way for Gian to win is probably a decision, which I know sounds rough for the heavyweights, but he can definitely outpoint Greene. Greene's going to get tired into them rounds. I think Gian can take this on a, hate to say it, but another tight split decision. So yeah, it's not something I'll be running to the bookies to bet on, but I think it'd have to be a dog or pass situation if I was going to bet that fight. Yeah, it's a rough one, guys. Don't go too heavy on that.
Yeah, but I agree with you for that fight, honestly. But let's just move on to the next fight. We have middleweight Brendan Allen versus Kyle Daukaus. Via BetOnline, Allen is -305 and Daukaus is +255. So again, can you give me your take on those odds and the breakdown for that fight?
Yeah, this is a real interesting fight, you see, because we've got, in my opinion, a bit of a fake hype prospect in Daukaus versus the real prospect in Brendan Allen. The kid's been pro since he was a teenager, and he's had some serious fights and some serious experience under his belt already. He's one of the hottest prospects in the middleweight division right now, to be honest. In terms of unranked guys anyway. Dana White Contender Series alumni, came up through there, and since he did that, he's just been on a finishing streak. I think it's 2 submissions and 2 KOs, or 2 submissions and 1 KO that our boy Brendan's got. But where is he getting these finishes? Getting them all on the floor because he's got some high-level grappling in his bout. The way he handled Tom Breeze. Now, Tom Breeze from England, I know a bit about Tom Breeze. He's a strong guy, and he's got a big frame too, like Brandon. But you'd think Allen was tossing around a featherweight, the way he took Tom Breeze to the ground and then just beat him into submission. Now, Brendan Allen also fought another prospect in Kevin Holland. It's another win that was no joke at all. Beating Kevin Holland is serious, especially at this kid's. I think he was 23 when he beat Kevin Holland, or 22. Absolutely ridiculous. The trajectory of this kid's career is looking so damn promising that it is hard to go against him. At the same time, we look at the odds and it's just, I mean, I guess I understand, but it's not something that I'm just going to want to rush to play. There's just so much juice. Because, look, let me talk about Daukaus for a minute. He's a BJJ brown belt, and he loves playing it off the bottom. He really does like being off his back and throwing up submissions, and Allen is most likely going to go for that takedown. Well, I say Allen is most likely going to go for the takedown, but maybe not. Maybe he'll skip that because I do believe Allen is the better striker standing. So maybe he'll want to avoid that ground game altogether. I just think that Brendan Allen is going to be so confident coming into this fight, is going to discredit Daukaus altogether. Now, it's interesting because Daukaus will size up with Allen, and Allen hasn't fought guys that are bigger than him. And Daukaus is going to be bigger than him. So that will be interesting. He's got some real long arms. He's beaten no big names, but I guess the level of competition is pretty good. I wouldn't say he's got a padded record. It's just that 9-0, when you've got so many submissions, can seem so much more damaging than it actually is if you go in and look at the fight tape. I've watched this kid Daukaus be in situations where he's being ground and pounded, and it looks like he doesn't want to be hit. There was one fight he had, I can't remember exactly who it was, but it was the end of the round, and the guy was ground and pounding him. And if there weren't 5 seconds to go, he would have lost the fight. But he came back out in the second round and got a barrel choke, which he's really freaking good at. Problem he'll have is, I think him and Brandon Allen are on about the same level jiu-jitsu. If anything, I mean, Allen could be higher by now. I did try to find that information regarding their bouts, but I couldn't. So as far as I know, I think they're both brown belt, but there's a good chance that Allen could have picked up his black belt. Sharp striking from Daukaus, but he's not going to be able to compare against Allen. He switches his stance well. So, you know, I guess this kid would be confident in all areas because, you know, he can fight in all areas, just not as good as Allen, I don't think. I do like this undefeated prospect. I just don't like him against Brandon Allen. They're just putting him against a wolf here. And I think that Daukaus would fare well in a bigger division also. I think that he might do better in the light heavyweight division. But yeah, to conclude that it's going to be a real strong wrestler versus a jiu-jitsu guy, but the wrestler also has a brown belt. So it's kind of like, yeah, this is Allen's fight to lose. He loves a takedown. He could struggle, you know, with the length. He might not be able to pick up Daukaus and dump him as wrestlers like to do because of the length. That he might have struggled with that, but you know, it's gotta be Brandon Allen for me. I've watched both guys have success, but the fight tape is real limited, and you have to go with the guy who's got the higher level experience, and that's Brandon Allen for me.
All right. Well, if you do want to get in on this fight, again, via Bet Online, Allen is -305 and Daukaus is +255. Now let's move on to the next fight. We have welterweight. This is going to be an interesting one. Mike Perry versus Mickey Gall. Just keep in mind also, Mike Perry's going to have his girlfriend in the corner and no one else. So I definitely want to hear your thoughts on that. But real quick, their odds. We have Mike Perry -330 and Mickey Gall +270. So what's your take on that fight?
Hey, look, this is that fight that you go to see at school that's arranged at lunchtime, and it's that kid versus that kid. You just know they don't like each other. They're the exact same age and they are the polar opposites. In my opinion, we have a fighter versus a trained fighter. There's a huge difference, okay? And the obvious fighter that I'm talking about is Mike Perry. The guy is crazy. Now, I'll take that word very lightly. I'm not saying that he needs to go to an insane asylum. I'm just saying he's got a wild personality and he's definitely out there and he's not scared of much. But that's cost him, you see. That's cost him against some fights where, you know what, he could have won against some big names. There's a huge difference for me between Mike Perry and Mickey Gall, and that's just going to be one guy can hang in the UFC, and I don't think the other can. Mickey has made his professional career in the UFC, where they've either handed him someone so low level that he's bound to get a win every now and then against this level of opposition, or they've just given him someone that's completely exposed him. They tried to put him against Diego Sanchez, and look what happened there. We know Diego Sanchez is so far from the prime of his career that to watch him come out and starch a guy and get a TKO finish on somebody who's, you know, younger, fresher, you know, meant to be, you know, a prospect per se, but it just hasn't shown for Mickey Gall, in my opinion. I'm not going to stand here and say Mike Perry has got an incredible streak or is well known for his amazing career accolades, but this guy from Michigan knows how to swing a punch, and I'm telling you now, every time you watch Mike Perry fight, well, more often than not, it's going to be entertaining. You talk about his corner. I'm going to get onto that now because I've listened to Mike Perry in multiple interviews across the week, and one of them was with former UFC fighter, legend Mike Swick. Shout out Mike Swick. And Mike Swick brought this up, and Perry's answer to that is that the corner does absolutely nothing for me during fights, which is fair enough. He's like, with this empty arena, he says, I'm going to be listening to his corner. And I'm going to be listening to DC commentate and the commentators. I'm going to be listening out for what they're saying, because nobody has ever helped me win a fight in the corner. I can't argue that. If you want to have your partner in the corner, I'm all for that, because a lot of fighters do. It's just she's not in the UFC. She's not a fighter, so everyone's turning their nose up at it a bit. I think if you've got that confidence like Mike Perry coming off such a heavy losing streak, then why not? And do you know what? He should have this confidence because it's Mickey Gall. Mickey Gall's best accomplishment is defeating CM Punk, the 7-time WWE champion. That's the closest Mickey Gall was going to get to a championship in the UFC, unfortunately. Yeah, he's got that jiu-jitsu threat. He is a black belt. He can grab a neck, and he could grab a neck, but it's highly unlikely. And for me, I'd say Perry wins. I'd put Perry at a 70-80% easy. Wins this fight 7 times, 8 times out of 10, just based on the striking. All he has to do is sprawl Mickey, and he's going to be able to close the distance with that smaller octagon. As soon as Mickey Gall feels them hands, he couldn't handle Diego Sanchez's hands after 20 years of hard work. So what do you think he's going to do with a fresh, strapping Mike Perry, who's an absolute nutcase in the octagon? I think this is Mike Perry, but once again, we're leaning on the side of the juice. It's not something I'll pay up for, unfortunately. This week, I'm probably going to have 1 or 2 bets. If I'm being honest, on my final card, I'm probably going to have 1 or 2 bets because, yeah, you don't jump into cards like this just to bet, unless that's what you want to do and you're just a recreational gambler and you do it for fun. By all means, copy every play I've gave. But yeah, if you're serious, you're doing this long term, please step carefully for this card.
Yep. All right. So if you do want to get in on that fight again, Perry is -330 and Gall is +270. So there's that. Now we're going to head over to our main event. We have Dustin Poirier versus Dan Hooker. We did our first look video last week. So the odds at that time, Poirier was -190 and Hooker was +165. Now, Poirier is -220 and Hooker is +185. So can you give me your thoughts on those new odds?
It's all the public, innit? Mm-hmm. Do you know what? Yeah, the public. I love the public because they don't. My friend Jay mentioned this to me. They don't have a clue this week. They're very confused. A lot of people are very confused, and there might be a few spots that can be capitalized on by the long-term MMA cappers here, because I feel like people are just throwing their money everywhere. But in terms of this, obviously, Dustin Poirier is going to get the love. I think you might even see +200. Sorry, what did you say Hooker was now, Lee?
Hooker is +185.
+185, yeah. I think that could reach 200 as soon as we get to Friday, payday. More of the public casual fans come in. They're all going to see Poirier, and they're going to be all over him. I think you could hang around, Hangman. You could hang around for the Hangman till maybe Friday or Saturday and grab yourself a +200. I think there's a good chance that could go up. So it's not going to go down much. You might lose 5 points, maybe, but there's more chance of that getting nice and pricier. So yeah, I'd hang around for the if you're on Dan Hooker anyway and you think he's got a chance, I'd probably hang around for that one, Friday or Saturday.
All right. So if you do want a more in-depth breakdown of the main event, Poirier versus Hooker, definitely head on over to our main YouTube page at SBR Sports and check out our first look video. But Dave, for this video, could you real quick just give us a quick pick for that fight, for the main event?
Yeah, sure. It's Dan Hooker. As Lee said, we did the first look. We do first look every Friday. We'll either be released on a Friday or a Saturday. Not this week because we do have a break. Thank God. It's been so long of constant events. I feel like I've been at it for just months on end. But yeah, it's Dan Hooker. This is a prize play for me, guys. I do think that Dustin should be the favorite. I think that Dan Hooker should land around +140, +150. I do not think we should be seeing Dan Hooker close to +200. Go and look at the jabs that he put on Gilbert Burns. I don't need to say anymore. Go look at the jabs he put on Gilbert Burns. That should be more than enough to have a question on Poirier and where he is right now. For me, this could be a mental thing. I don't know where Poirier is at. He took the interim title. Khabib humbled him. He's been off for a year. He's suffered an injury. To be quite honest, I don't know how much he cares about this fight. What I do know about Dan Hooker is he cares. He cares a lot, and he comes from a real good gym in City Kickboxing. This price, I am not ignoring. I don't care if Poirier flattens him in the first round. I'm happy with knowing that I am on a price that you're probably not going to see a lot on Dan Hooker, to be fair, unless he's fighting like Khabib or like, top 5, Dustin, etc. You're not going to get that price. So yeah, I'll have a sprinkle on Dan Hooker. It will only be a half unit because I don't have the confidence in a full unit. Obviously, I put Dustin as the favorite. But yeah, I think there's a great chance that Dan can definitely take 3 or 4 wins over Poirier if they're fighting 10 times. Just with his crisp jab alone, so lightning jab. I love it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, give me a bit of Dan Hooker this week.
All right. Well, if you do want to get in on the main event, again, via BetOnline, Poirier is minus 220 and Hooker is plus 185. So there you have it. So that's all I have for you today, Dave. So thank you so much for, again, dropping some knowledge and donating your time to me. So if you aren't following Dave on Twitter, definitely give him a follow at DaveManyun_. And if you're not following SBR on social media, give us a follow on Twitter and on Instagram at SBR Sportspicks. Of course, like always, give us a like and subscribe to our channel. That way you never miss a show with us. And Dave, I'll see you for Fight Island. So thank you again for your time. Until next time.
Love you, Rafa.
Love you, Rafa.